Good evening, you're watching The Big Story. I'm Haryanto Diman coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom, and I'm not alone today.
That's right, I'm Olivia Quay, joining in from my very own home. Now, this is an arrangement that you, our viewer, will have to get used to, Haryanto and myself as well, as we practice stricter safe distancing.
That's right, Olivia. Now we begin with the National Centre for Infectious Diseases Clinical Director Sean Vasu said that today more people will die if those here continue to flout circuit breaker measures intended to counter the coronavirus. His comments come about a week into the stringent safe distancing measures, which include staying at home unless leaving for essential purposes, a ban on dining in at eateries, as well as keeping at least 1 meter apart from others when exercising and in queues. Despite this, there have been numerous reports of those continue to ignore the restrictions, exercising in groups, queuing too closely to others, gathering with people outside their household, and crowding parks and park connectors.
Meanwhile, Law and Home Affairs Minister Shanmugam said today that the number of people who have attempted to abuse the COVID-19 Temporary Relief Fund remains small, but the authorities intend to come down quite hard on those who do so. The fund gives a one-time cash assistance of $500 to lower to middle-income Singapore residents who have lost their jobs or income due to the crisis.
MSF wanted to come out very quickly and provide this assistance as quickly as possible. And that meant, you wanted to cut short the amount of information that would be required, the forms that need to be filled up and so on. It was intended to be quick, fast, effective, pretty much on the spot. But it requires the applicants to be honest as well. Because if we get people who are not honest, then the requirements for checking will grow. And a lot of honest people who are applying, a lot of people who are out of a job, who need immediate cash, will then get affected. So that was Minister Desmond's point. And, people, it's a small minority, advertising forged pay slips, telling each other how to go and get the money using false information. So we intend to come down quite hard on this. So I've told the police, investigate, and if this is cheating, it carries a heavy jail sentence. I think we have to send a message.
Singapore reported 233 new cases yesterday. This brings the total number of cases here to 2,532. 141 of the new cases are work permit holders, mostly staying in dormitories, work sites and other living quarters. 7 new clusters were also identified. They comprise more dormitories as well as popular eateries, the Black Tap Burger Joint at Marina Bay Sands and the McDonald's outlets at Forum Galleria, Lido and Park Lane. The 4 restaurants have been cleaned and are closed for business until further notice. This pandemic has changed nearly every aspect of our daily lives, how we work, socialize, shop, and even exercise. Each of us is affected in one way or another. Zoom, Skype, Google Hangout, House Party, you may be familiar with one of these video conferencing platforms. By now, they've been vital tools when it comes to keeping in touch, but these are also avenues for cyber criminals looking to exploit. For example, all teachers in Singapore stopped using Zoom for their home-based teaching after hackers hijacked the streaming of a lesson to show obscene pictures to some students. The Education Ministry said the move was a precautionary measure until security issues have been ironed out. Olivia, over to you.
And just as we have learned to reduce the risk of the coronavirus through social distancing measures and proper hand washing, we need to develop good security habits as well. And here to tell us more is Gary Gardiner, Head of Security Engineering of Asia Pacific and Japan at cybersecurity firm Checkpoint Software Technologies. Hi Gary, thanks for joining us today. Now, experts continually say there is no way to prevent cyber attacks from happening, but the risks they pose can be managed if the average person like you and me practices good cyber hygiene. What can each of us do in that case?
Well, to start with, I mean, when we're working from home, looking at things around making sure that your Wi-Fi is password protected is a simple one. Making sure that all your applications are up to date and the operating system that you're running those on are up to date and patched fully. Those are good common sense measures that we would say to any organisation, and we mean it for anyone who's working from home or for students working from home on their own laptops as well.
And how about emails? Because, for example, when it comes to home-based learning, students get many emails with attachments that they're supposed to open to, access this home-based learning. So what can they look out for?
So just to make sure that the email address they're getting from is their teacher's email address or a trusted email address if it's any individual. Also making sure that you have good security on your home device as well. So good antivirus, anti-malware products sitting on there that are providing you with a certain level of security if you were to unfortunately, to open a malicious file. But the primary one is making sure that you are looking at and opening emails from a trusted source.
So we've been speaking about, the individual level, but how about the business front? In light of the outbreak, many companies moved into work from home in a hurry, and some are not equipped to handle all the security loopholes that come with video call platforms. So can they still catch up in terms of cybersecurity? And if so, what can they do then?
Yeah, so having a good remote access solution is key. So a lot of organizations that we've been working with around their business continuity didn't have, I guess, the facilities or the capability or the throughput to deal with a lot of people now moving to remote access. So looking at, again, installing a good cybersecurity platform onto those remote devices, installing and implementing a good VPN solution, so you're encrypting the traffic from the home office to the corporate LAN. Now, if you look at things like Zoom has changed the way that it's implemented its platform and is continuing to do so. So password protecting sessions that you have for video conferencing, looking at the number of attendees and who's actually attending those sessions is key. And they have in the system and have implemented it more often now as a waiting room. So you can actually, people when they join the session can actually then have to wait for you to allow them onto that session to stop them being able to hijack it. But what we have seen is a lot of people, because they're working from home on social media, posting photographs of their Zoom sessions, and that has the session ID at the top of it, which is kind of just the address of where everything's going on. So we would say to people as well, be careful about what you're posting on social media.
Right. Well, Gary, for some context, how much of a rise in cyber crimes are you seeing during this ongoing crisis?
So specifically around video conferencing platforms, we have seen a rise in domains that have been, for example, with the Zoom name in it, trying to trick people into downloading malicious versions of the software, or looking at the capability to trick people into doing something so they can put malware onto their device. So we have seen a big spike, as we would normally do with any large event around the globe. We expected to see it with Tokyo this year with the Olympics. That's been delayed. But any kind of big sporting event or something like this where there's a lot of press coverage, we see that the threat actors will go after that because a lot of people are looking for information. And because they're looking for that information online, they'll go to multiple sources, and it's easy for them to register domains that look similar or may look and feel like the original content owners, but it isn't. And just a way to get malicious code onto those devices.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Gary. That was Gary Gardiner, Head of Security Engineering of APAC and Japan at cybersecurity firm Checkpoint Software Technologies. But for now, Jan, it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Olivia. Now moving overseas, according to the World Health Organization, there are 70 coronavirus vaccines in development globally, with 3 candidates already being tested in human trials. The furthest along in the clinical process is an experimental vaccine developed by Hong Kong-listed Casino Biologics and the Beijing Institute of Biotechnology, which is in phase 2. Meanwhile, the US surpassed Italy as the country with the highest reported death toll, with more than 22,000 fatalities, this affirming its position as the epicenter of the global pandemic. The US has more than 560,000 infections, far more than Spain, which has the second highest number in the world. Over in the UK, the number of coronavirus-related hospital deaths have hit 10,000, but this number does not include deaths outside of hospitals. Calling it a somber day, Health Secretary Matt Hancock urged the British public to continue to stay at home to help the national effort. The UK joins the likes of the US, Spain, Italy and France, where more than 10,000 deaths have been reported. In China, authorities reported the highest number of new daily cases in 6 weeks. 108 new infections were reported yesterday, the highest number of new cases since 143 infections were reported on March 5th. The National Health Commission said that 98 of the new cases were imported. Of these, 49 had entered Heilongjiang province from Russia. Meanwhile, China's wet markets have come under increased scrutiny in recent months after Wuhan's Huanan seafood wholesale market turned out to be a focal point for early viral infections. Across the city, other wet markets like Baishazuo Agricultural Products Market continue to have a bad reputation even when wildlife is not sold. Our China correspondent Elizabeth Law gives us a closer look into the market's current state.
Behind me is the Huanan Seafood Market. As you can see, it's all been barricaded up. There are cops all over across the other side of the road, and from all corners watching. The market is completely shut. Place is quiet. Even the stalls selling noodles and stuff outside the market is shut as well.你们现在他们会来查的很严吗？还是会？
肯定严。现在怎么说呢？先是管控，现在是还是警惕的这个疫情再是蔓延。生意
成吧？
那肯定有影响。你比如说现在已经武汉的经济都倒退好几年，对吧？影响很大。
Back home, the circuit breaker has indeed brought out the creative streak in Singaporeans, like the remake of the timeless National Day song, Count on Me Singapore. It's called Stay at Home Singapore. To put this together, 11 local artists partnered the Straits Times and riffed off local music veteran Clement Chow's popular song. It's for a charitable cause to help those affected by Covid-19. It's a rallying call to get Singaporeans to do their bit to help the nation slow the virus spread by simply, like what the title says, stay at home.
We need a vaccine for tomorrow, not just for me, everybody. Patients are filling all the beds. Just don't be one, stay home instead.
We're now joined by the man behind both these songs, local music veteran Clement Chow. Hi, Clement. Now, Clement, for a start, could you tell us how this whole idea of remaking your timeless song, Count on Me Singapore, came about?
Well, I received the text from the ST team, the Straits Times team, and I was surprised and said they wanted to, do something with the song and change it, to Stay Home Singapore, Stay at Home Singapore. And I'm thinking, okay, my first initial reaction, honestly, was, oh no, I don't really want to get involved in a self-seeking project and just, doing something like that. But because there's so many spoofs on COVID-19, but I realized that the message is important, and I told the team after we started to have check that as long as there was a give back element that will be the only reason and my main motivation for part of this thing. And so the give back was in two forms. One was to let people know this message that it's very important to stay at home, and number two really is to help. You know, the ST Pocket Money Fund, the budgeting fund, because so many families out there are really in need of help. And so, nothing better than to be able to just come together, let our voices in a selfless, simple, and heartfelt way.
Now, Clement, this music video was put together in quite unusual circumstances as well, in a circuit breaker mode. Tell us, how challenging it was for all the singers to work alone from home while you put the snippets together in the end.
Wow. I mean, basically, when we first came together, all of us, we first of all talked about the song, how to write it together. And it was, I think we spent about 4 hours on a Wednesday night, something like that. And then said, hey, why don't you all just simply record yourselves on the video, singing the song without the track being heard. And so they all had to figure out how to do that. I had to figure out how to get the track out. And he had the track, but it got corrupted. Then my good friend Wayne said he decided to just jump in the 11th hour and just created a track with it, and then we sent the track out to everybody, and what they did was they sent it back to me, and in the most, in whatever they could do, make up a little bit, find a little corner of the house. They had a lot of issues because some phones are very, loud. There's a lot of noise. There's a little space. I appreciated the efforts that were put in, and finally when it all came back out, that was a real highlight. And then, honestly, this production, it's not a production because it was just the sound that you hear on this particular video. It is what it is from the handphone without what you call production. Because people would normally for these kind of videos to extend it to studio, they'll do something with it, put sweeten the voices, balance it. But this is raw. This is real. This is what it is, straight from the phone.
Wow, it's really nice to hear that. Well, thank you so much, Clement. We've been speaking to singer-songwriter Clement Chow, who worked together with other local artists to remake the timeless National Day song Count on Me Singapore. Now, you can do your part to help those whose families have been affected by the outbreak as well by donating to the campaign via the link below. The link is also in the description below if you're watching us on YouTube. Now, those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, do log on to straitstimes.com. Now, I must ask, Ollie, how is it like working from home on the first day?
It's hard because I'm so far away from you. The face-to-face communication, that is really undervalued, actually. But I got to say, the commuting is pretty fast.
Nice. Now, once again, I'm Haryanto Diman, of course, with Olivia Quay, who's live at home with us. Join us tomorrow.
But for now, we leave you with another excerpt from Stay at Home Singapore. And as Haryanto said, this remake was done for charity, and your donations will go to support the ST School Pocket Money Fund and the Business Times Budding Artists Fund.